discussions on religious and social affairs. I'm your host once again, Neil Nasser, and it's my honor today to be joined by an amazing member of the community, somebody that gives back in the name of the Ahlulbayt, helping and supporting people through their trials, tribulations and traumas. Alhamdulillah, I'd like to introduce Sister Fawzana Hiroji. Salamu alaikum, Sister.
Alaikum salam. Karawali, you forgot
Kawali, sorry. Double barrel names. Sister, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Alhamdulillah.
Thank you.
And all praise to you for all the hard work that you do. You're an inspiration to so many people.
Alhamdulillah.
Jazakallah khair. Dear viewers, our show today is called Who Am I? A brilliant topic. We're looking at the journey towards self-discovery and how important that is. We're going to explore so many different things, the various stages that we can use to increase our self-awareness and explore our true identity and authenticity, inshallah. So I think the way we can kick this show off, is talking about obstacles. You know, those barriers, those roadblocks that we have in our lives, the anchors that stop us from moving forward. Let's start on that topic there. Where do they come from? How do we start freeing ourselves? All that kind of stuff.
So I'm going to ask you a question, and I'm going to ask it in two ways.
Okay.
Do you have any flaws?
Yes, I do.
Okay. I would have asked you another way, but I don't think there's any point now because you've already answered
direct,
yes, you do.
Yeah,
yes.
It's a direct,
but
close
sometimes
question.
when you say to somebody, sorry, I've got a bit of a cough.
Okay.
Sometimes when you say to somebody, do you have any flaws? They're straight away defensive.
Yeah.
Yep, straight away.
Of course.
In your mind, there must have for a second been a level of defensiveness that because I said, do you?
Yes.
And point it directly at you.
That's right.
If I asked you, do people have flaws? You would have been fine with that.
Yeah.
But do you have flaws? So it's that defensiveness that is a big barrier to people moving forward in life.
Yeah.
It's a big block in allowing you to progress in a way. And we all have that.
Yes.
So I think we need to be self-aware in terms of do we have any defensive behavior? And if there is defensiveness within us, where's it coming from?
Definitely.
So that's one of the kind of issues that we see. In terms of barriers to healing, I think experiences within life that we face, obviously, and how it's not so much the experience that's the issue.
Yes.
It's how we receive that experience, how we internalize that experience, what our perception is, what lens are we wearing while we're walking the streets and doing our daily business, really.
Yeah. We walk around sometimes with blinkers on.
Yeah.
You know, we're like this, so we don't really see the bigger picture, and we're just focused on the task or whatever it is we're doing, so we're not opening ourselves up. Going back to that defensive side, how do you recognize that you're being defensive when you've just lived a life like that? You know, you get to your 20s, 30s, and it's just a part of your DNA, a part of your makeup. How do you even stand back and say, you know, I'm being very defensive with these kind of questions, the things that I'm asking myself and others are asking me? So
we've got the birthday of Imam Ali alayhi salam, and what did he teach us? To reflect. Every night before you go to bed, reflect. And that's really it.
Yes.
It's simple, but it's hard. So there's a whole discipline in reflection. There's a whole load of growth that comes out of reflection. How do you reflect? How do we dig deep? But we're very tangible. We're people that live in a very tangible life. Yes. We want tangible things. We want things now, instant gratification, right. Amazon, I'm advertising here, you know, things like that, so that we get it the next day. When you get a choice of delivery, you're going to choose 10 p.m. tonight. Yep. Even if you don't need it till tomorrow, you want to see it 10 p.m. tonight.
That's right.
When we live in a life like that, where it's just now, and it becomes very surface level. And so our ability to reflect is not deep.
That's
we
right.
don't have the level of focus or the concentration needed to think deeply about ourselves. And it's only when we get to that stage that we'll actually realize, hold on, that's my fault. I'm being defensive. Yes, there might have been an issue with what I did, but I'm defensive and I'm not handling it very well.
Yeah. That defensive nature can sometimes bring issues within relationships, right?
Definitely.
So either intimate relationships or just relationships with people around. How do you go about, again, kind of tackling that issue, and then maybe you've done some reflection on it, but again, you can't see it. And maybe your partner, the person, your friend, that's somebody close to you, your brother or your sister, is then saying, you know, why are you being so defensive? Why are you not seeing the bigger picture in this particular situation? Do you often hear that?
That goes back to what I said to you at the beginning. Do you have flaws? And also, when you get married, you don't tell each other the flaws. But what you do say to the person that you're going to marry is, love me for who I am. And a lot of the vows are, I will love you for the way you are for the rest of my life, and whatever it might be. You hear that on movies and stuff.
Yeah.
Really, are you going to love that person for the way they are when you don't know them fully? Fully, you cannot know somebody fully. Even over time, people change.
Yes, that's right.
So you can't make that promise. You can love them for their good qualities, but where there are bad qualities, you have to make a pact where you're going to raise them with each other, that this is going to cause issues within our relationship.
Yes.
And a lot of these conversations need to happen pre-marital.
Assent.
Yeah, we're having conversations premarital that are not relevant to the future planning of life. You're going to have a baby or anything, you're going to plan for it.
Yes.
What have you planned for your marriage, apart from the wedding day and the gifts that you want? And, you know, what else have you planned for your marriage? What questions have you asked? What vows have you made?
Yes.
No, real vows.
Yeah, real vows, solid vows.
Yeah,
right? So,
I mean, because we don't do the traditional English wedding with vows and everything, we just assume, you know, but part of the process has to be with vows, right? Promises that we make.
Yeah, till death do us part, those kind of things. It's really interesting you're picking up on that topic, that I don't think there's enough investment from ourselves, our communities, in pre-marriage work.
Definitely.
And that's something that definitely needs to be looked at in detail, to be honest with you. And even in marriage, working on relationships and external support from that particular area. What about when it comes to like relationships with externals? You know, it could be relationships with colleagues at work, it could be your friend circle, etc. Do you get to a point, if you're in this defensive state, you don't really know who you are, you're closed-minded, you're wearing so many different masks around people and looking in a different way, how on earth do you tackle that kind of issue? You're just very defensive in that respect.
So I'm going to link up both work and marriage. Okay. Now, as you know, when you're at work, you definitely wear a mask. You only have to hold on an act for how long? A few hours? Yeah. In between, you're not going to sit with them 24/7.
No.
You're not going to even sit with them the full time that you're at work. You'll be taking breaks. You can hold up a kind of perfect identity for a certain amount of time, right? When you come home, you literally, as you kick off your shoes, you kick off all that as well, okay, in your home environment.
Yes.
And you are as you are. And so if you're going to if you find that within your home life and home relationship you are defensive, or your partner says you're defensive, or whatever it might be, you know that you're going to see that in your work environment.
Yes.
So the honesty and the truth has to be there in the home environment. If there is something that's not right within the marriage, bring it up very quickly. Don't allow it to fester. But when you're told something, particularly in the marriage, because it helps you in your growth outside as well. When you're told something by your partner within the marriage, be in a position where you thank them and you appreciate it.
Yes.
Not in a position that, what would you know about me? Well, you know, we're living together.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. There's that kind of the two C's in a successful relationship, the communication and the compromise.
Yeah.
So bringing the two together, the two aspects of it. I love what you said about appreciating the fact that somebody can come to you, your life partner, a friend, a colleague, whoever, and say, you know what, something not quite right there, you need some help, or the way you're reacting is not right. It's how we receive it, how we receive that communication. The person that's giving that, communicating that to the person that's got the issue, are they communicating it in the right way as well? That's
also a big issue, because again, it's about perception, their emotional baggage from the life that they've lived and how they've been spoken to in the past. So a lot of the time we're not in the driving seat of our own communication, to be honest. Even the words that we have may be very selective because we've never explored other words that we could use. Does that make sense?
Totally.
So even, you know me, I'm an advocate of the emotion wheel, for example, to identify exactly what emotions you're feeling, and from that you've got a word that goes with it, you know, so at least you're very accurate in your description. A lot of the time the words we use are very loaded, you know, and and the meaning it doesn't have a precise meaning.
Yeah.
So that creates a situation where the other person can take it whichever way they are feeling at that time.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
So we have to be very clear when we're giving any feedback, and also sandwich that feedback. Always positive.
Yeah.
Have the negative in the middle, but put it in a nice way with the precise words of exactly what you're pointing at. And it goes back to even like when you're with children, you don't tell them you're naughty.
No.
No, you define that what you just did just now wasn't right. That's it, you know? And I'll put my hand on my heart and say that I've said you're naughty, you shouldn't do this, and you're a bad boy or you're a bad girl, or, you know? But it's not about that. It's about there's something that you've done that I wasn't happy with, and we can work through it, that kind of thing. And you'd want to use that in your marriage, in your workplace, everywhere.
Yeah.
Just something where it's really precise and you're pointing something directly out, not telling the person that you're bad.
Yeah. Putting that person down at that particular point, but actually the words that you're using there is more developing. You're developing that person and wanting to grow with that person. Try to highlight the issue and bring it to the forefront.
Yeah.
How can you get better in this particular situation?
Yeah.
It's amazing, actually. And you mentioned the word baggage. You mentioned the word past, which a big word, which we could, again, probably talk for a couple of hours just on that we bring our past to everything, our past experiences, our past traumas, when we've been hurt, but also when we've been happy, because then we reflect our happiness. I was happy there, so I should be in this situation. This is what makes me happy.
Yes.
So it's not just about the traumas, it's about the good times and the bad times.
But at the same time, when you're saying that, then we have an expectation.
Sant, yes.
Yeah. So, I was happy in this state, so I will be happy here. There's an expectation.
Yep.
So, you know, this person that I'm marrying seems very similar to somebody else I know, or my mother or my father or whatever. There's an expectation. And that's another thing. Any relationship you have, you should not have an expectation if you cannot have an expectation of yourself.
Ooh, that's really deep. That's looking in the mirror stuff, right?
Yeah.
And that, I guess, people that saw the poster, you've got those two models, and one's looking in the mirror. You know, I asked our viewers that. So first and foremost, we mentioned the emotional wheel, okay? So that's something you can Google, something that you can look at. There's many diagrams that are online, and that's something that yourself can take on board. And if you want to look more into that, you can connect with the different emotions and look at the opposite polars. So we'll give you a few tips throughout today's show, inshallah ta'ala.
Inshallah.
But yeah, I think that's a great point that you were making there. I just want to ask about peer pressure.
Okay.
Does peer pressure form a part of the person that we are today? So can that change your direction, change your way of thinking, almost put you in a position where it can be difficult for you to make that choice, jump or don't jump, but everybody else has jumped, so I should follow? Does that form a part of your?
It does if you haven't fully understood yourself. You haven't built your own values, and this is even for young children. And I'll move on to, if you don't mind, something that I am looking at developing or have nearly finished. I think when we look at the pressures that our children are under, if they haven't fully formed their own identity, they don't know who they are, they don't know where they're from, they don't have their own values and boundaries and beliefs that they have formed, not what's thrown on them, this is when peer pressure becomes an issue. And we know currently with the curriculum at school, the issues that our young children are facing in terms of getting very confused. Okay, there's too much information that's being kind of bombarded, and it's at a confusing time when children don't even, I mean, I remember when my children were young, if there was any conversation about anything that I wanted to have, if I felt it wasn't age relevant, I wouldn't. I would say it's fine when they get to an older age, when they get to Baligha, we'll talk about it. There's no reason to introduce it so early. But I think the situation that we're in at the moment with too much information that is very confusing even to myself at times, our children are being exposed to that. And so if they have not got a very clear identity of themselves, and unfortunately it's got as early as at the age of 4.5, 5 when they go into school.
Yes,
if they haven't got a clear identity of themselves, there's going to be an issue with that. So as a result, I've been working on, obviously the thing is called Who Am I?
Yes.
I was pointing to my phone because the poster was on there. And that's, I guess, because I've set up a series of courses called the Who Am I self-development courses. And I really felt strongly that our children also need to, but in a way that is right for them. And it's very hard as a parent to know. You've had your first child. Firstly, you're just learning how the child does things. I mean, you haven't done a psychology degree or master's just before you've raised a child.
No.
You don't know how and when and how to speak to them. And, it's not easy. No. And I also find that the connection between parent and child is a lot more caregiving than friendly, which it's hard to find the time with everything else in terms of caregiving to be a friend to your child and start having that time to be deep in conversation. So this is another area that I'm trying to look at within the course that I'm working on.
So you're redeveloping the course and maybe delivering that to a younger audience? Is that what you're saying?
So no, obviously for the younger audience, the course has to be completely new in terms of the content. It's very different for children than it is for adults.
Yes.
However, it still follows the same 4-stage process that I have, more or less, with the adults. The only difference is obviously children don't have as much baggage at that age as we would have, like myself at this age. All of us will have a lot more baggage the older we are. So there's no need for us to go into specifics of types of baggage and get them to identify. It's more about understanding themselves and their thoughts and things like that. So
that's amazing. So you don't need to do that deep dive so much with the younger generation. It's incredible work that you're doing and very much needed. As you say, there's so much information that they're exposed to now. Yeah. And parents are being forced to have discussions that they might not have had for time, for literally biologic age or even later. You talked about the 4 stages within this course. Do you want to just kind of give a bit of an overview of the course itself, what it is you tackle, and how you go about it? Okay,
so the 4 stages. The first stage is who are you right now? Okay, how do you see yourself right now? What do you understand about yourself? How do you behave in public? There's a lot about patterns of behavior. I think because of my background in nursing, social work, elements of mental health and psychology, and now obviously I'm doing my master's in neuroscience and psychology. For at least 20 years, my work has always been on behavior, watching patterns of behavior. And even with ourselves, we have to be able to watch our behavior. So it's giving people the tools to be able to understand their behaviors, to be able to understand what's going on inside. Because a lot of the time, people are struggling to go inside of themselves. So this is another way to do it. Do it from external to go inside. Does that make sense?
Totally.
So the second stage is that now that you've looked quite deep and you've looked at who you are right now, let's look deeper into your mindset, the way you think, the way you do things, your
thought process,
but also again looking deeper at your behaviors, but it's looking at the implications as well of it and what external things are impacting it. Okay, then because you've dug so deep in level 2 and there's a lot of homework and it can be really painful for people to sit in their thoughts, and that's what we train them to do. By the 3rd level, it's now let's start to build yourself up. You started to look at the foundation, you've cleared out the cobwebs, let's start to build yourself up. And by the 4th one, let's look to the future. Let's make the change, let's make progression, and let's start now before we leave, And to be honest, the tools that I learnt from the course, course is, because we have a mixed course with Sheikh Zuhair Ismail. I have a ladies course, which I have Fatima Valji that does the poetry, which is an absolutely amazing addition. It helps you to explore a lot of emotions through poetry. And then obviously the children's one with Sheikh Ali Hussein Datu. So the mixed one is a spiritual journey as well. So it's taking a lot of Islamic concepts and spirituality within that. So there's a slightly different take on that, but it's the same 4-stage process.
SubhanAllah, that series of like breaking somebody down, doing that reflective stage, really diving into the inner child, the inner voice, the inner self, and then exposing it, opening up a can of worms.
Yes.
And then you're building them back up again. It's like a therapeutic process, and then you're coaching the person back up. So they were maybe at this level before, you brought them down, and then when they finished, they're up here. You must have had a lot of success from this particular course. And
I have, alhamdulillah. I have, in terms of, you can see growth, you can see growth, and there's a lot more clarity. People are able to focus more on things that they want to do and move forward in life. So definitely there is growth. It's not just a feel-good factor at the end. It is progress, and that's what we want to see. And that comes back to what you were saying about blocks. Once you work through those blocks, you can fly. It's like a bird holding weights.
There you go.
You've got to let go of the weights, and then you can fly.
Yeah. And I guess it helps you and propels you into understanding future roadblocks as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So you have the cognizance to actually say, this is a roadblock. And rather than totally banging your head against that roadblock every 5 minutes, you learn to walk around it. Or go over the top of it, or even under it.
And again, the defensiveness is a lot more in control at that point. Guilt is a lot more in control at that point. All of these strong emotions hold us back.
Amazing.
Because they take up a lot of our thought process and don't give us that clarity that we need.
Yeah. You mentioned the word guilt there. Strong one, right? That we hold on to. That's a real sinking one. That's the anchor that holds us down sometimes. And there's a lot more emotional words within that. But that's the baggage, I feel, you put that on the scale at the airport, that's the one you're going to be overweight.
Yeah, and it's seen a lot in relationships. A lot. Every second, third couple that come to me, guilt. Guilt comes out.
I see that definitely in the work that I do. Guilt plays a massive part in that relationship. And we've got to move back to relationships as well. Okay, again, a good kind of narrative is to understand the person that you're talking to and to learn to speak their language. Yes. There's the book, we recommend another book here, dear viewers, The 7 Love Languages. A famous book, very good book. Again, highly recommend it in terms of understanding how to speak to others and communicate to them in their love language and being more of an effective communicator. Is this something that you have personally found that helps people within their courses, understanding the language of self and the language of others?
I think that is part of it, but it's a bigger minefield than that, I'll be honest with you. There's a lot of different issues and levels of understanding. And like I said, we need to work on premarital and then postmarital, and see how you go along. I think premarital is very key in understanding. So these are areas that I do work in. Particularly post-marital, the problem is a lot of pain has already occurred by then. And another issue that we find is that if one party goes through personal growth, they leave another party behind.
Beautiful.
So when there's a couple and one person moves ahead, again, even though they've moved ahead, then there's guilt. The other one's behind.
That's right.
They don't see what I can see. They don't feel what I can see. I've gone too far out now. I can't turn back. But the other party's not coming forward to my level. We're not growing together.
Yeah, that's right. We look at words and terminology. The word relationship has the word ship in there. And our ships are anchored. When somebody learns to raise their anchor or let go of their anchor, that ship sails. But where's the other one? Where's the other partner?
Where's the other party? And that's when the rift starts between, you know? The one that's moved ahead starts to feel guilt. I shouldn't have done it.
Yep.
I've ruined what we had before, blah, blah, blah. And the one that's behind thinks, oh, well, that person's so what themselves. They've moved, they've changed, they're, you know, life is the way it is. They should have stayed that way. It was fine. But Imam Ali advocates growth.
Totally.
He said, go from, I mean, we were told, what have we been told in terms of knowledge? Seek knowledge from the cradle to the grave.
Yeah.
Go to China.
Yeah.
This is all knowledge. This is knowledge. And if we don't gain knowledge about internally what we are, what's the point of the knowledge from outside?
There you go. Every interaction that we have, every moment that we get, every experience is knowledge. And we should learn from it. Again, looking at words again, even the word knowledge, when he says no ledge, we continuously learn, we continuously grow. And like you said, Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, the way that he teaches us at the end of the night to lie in that bed and think about what you did good in that day, what could you improve on, and think about your growth for the next day.
And I think the word accounting was used somewhere as well, if I'm not wrong, within the quote. And I think that's really relevant because it's not just about thought process, it's about literally accounting. And at that point as well, have I hurt somebody? When we look at have I done good and have I done bad, the focus is on us. Change the focus to what we have done to others. That would help with the defensiveness as well, wouldn't it? Because you've already started accounting for how you've treated others, what you've done to others, what you may have said, the words you used, all of that.
And that reflection process is the growth.
It definitely is.
Earlier on, we started to talk about mirror, and just want to come back to that stage, looking in the mirror. How powerful is that? Looking at you, your own image, talking to yourself in your own voice, and using your own name. Could that potentially be a start of a journey of greatness for yourself?
So as you're saying that, you're going to laugh. I'm actually thinking of my two birds. I bought them a mirror recently. And
Brilliant.
And they're loving that mirror.
We'll give them a shout out.
Ice and Kiwi.
Oh, brilliant. Let's shout out the birds. Assalamu alaikum, birds.
So they, little cute things, and they're absolutely loving the mirror. They go up to the mirror, they look at the mirror, they turn around and they talk to each other. And, you know, they're interacting with themselves in the mirror, then they're interacting with each other, and then they're fighting over the mirror. And I think, you know, when we think about, when I sit and watch them, I think that's actually quite amazing because they're not looking at surface level, they're actually talking to the mirror. They're not just looking at themselves. There's so much more to it. They're treating the mirror as if it's somebody else, as if it's another bird at the other side, that's a companion. If we did that, then we would be able to account for what our actions are. We can ask ourselves the question, and we can relay it back.
We can respond. And then you slowly, like the birds are doing, you can become a companion of your reflection and become a companion of yourself. Once you start growing, become a friend with yourself, start loving yourself, and then it just starts going outwards.
And if you can't love yourself, how can you expect somebody else to love you? If you can't accept your own flaws, how can you accept somebody else to accept them?
That's a mic drop moment. I think we should end the show there on that point there and go home. That's beautiful. That's exactly it. And if you create that back, you're actually gaining knowledge of self. And knowledge of self, if you know yourself, then you know your Lord, you know your Creator. It's the step to the connection, the spirituality, and that ever-growing connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know when you're in salah and you're making your amal and your dua and your intention to pray, and then we know you get to the third rakat, you can't remember if you're on the third or the fourth. You're not focused. You're thinking about, I've got to pick the kids up. What am I cooking for dinner? What am I going to wear? How am I going to do my hair? I did my hair today. You know, those kind of things. They're distractions. But if we connect in that way to self and understand where we're at, that brings presence of mind. And presence of mind is self-awareness.
Definitely. And I think we need to start to do that outside of salah. It might be that there are elements within salah, maybe something that we understand within salah, and if we don't, maybe we need to go back and learn. Another thing that I found on my self-development journey recently that I, you know, is there's so much in the Quran that even if you open anywhere, it would give you something that you can ponder on. And if we can start that level of reflection, even if it's on a word, 2 words, 3 words, it doesn't matter. There are so many types of Quran out there. And I'm telling myself, because I'm not the best in terms of finding time to recite Quran and ponder and reflect. But there definitely is so much that you can reflect on within the Quran that you have to try and make it applicable to you. It might be a story about a prophet, it doesn't matter. Make it applicable to you and ask yourself questions in relation to the statements that you've read.
Yes, definitely. I think you're so right in obviously reflecting on the Quran. You may just have a few moments just to read one line or a few words and having a deeper understanding of what qul means, you know, the directness of it and the sharpness, that's an action word, and why is it saying that? You know, there's so much repetition in the Quran as well, so if you can understand certain parts of it, when you pick it out, looking at time, which you mentioned there, because we're so busy with our lives, our dunya lives, if you like, we're forgetting and neglecting our akhirah. The self-awareness and self-development is part of our akhirah, because one day we're going to be accountable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, the day of Qiyamah, we'll all be there. And He will say to us, you know, you had the potential to be this, but you didn't invest in yourself. And can you honestly say that you tried to be the best version of yourself? Can you try to do that? This journey of self-development, where does it all start? Where did you start?
I started when I realized that whatever baggage that I had from my childhood, childhood in terms of I'm dyslexic, so
me too.
I was really teased with my inability to be able to read, and at that time the teachers were not that good, so they put you on the spot and ask questions, and you can't answer them. And in maths, I'm like, I can't do this, I can't think. Putting my hand up, getting in trouble, all of that. That created issues within the relationships I had at school. They were always teasing me and things like that, and that span in other relationships as well. So although my parents were there for me at that point, my fixation, as my perception, my fixation was only on the negative, which were those kids and how they were treating me, and my inability to progress in life as well, just my own education. I couldn't study. I was struggling to study, struggling to retain information. And that's when I realized that, you know, I'm living in guilt. All the words that I used before, and I was defensive. I had too many protective layers on myself, which stopped me from progressing, from being able to do the things that I wanted to do. And I always wanted to help people. I mean, I know I wanted to be a doctor, but I would never be able to make the grades for it. So I settled to become a beauty therapist and a massage therapist. But that allowed me to connect with people. But I realized I still had blocks there. What was stopping me from fully connecting with people? And that's when I realized I need to understand what these are. I need to work through.
So the first stage is realization, acceptance that there is something wrong. So what do you do from there? You've accepted it. You know there's something wrong. You see repeat behaviors, habits that are formed that are bad habits, and you want to change them into good. What do? Just look in the mirror and say, hey, here I am? It's
not going to be that easy if you've never reflected, if you've never... I mean, you could try and see if you want to do it yourself, that's fine. And another thing I just want to bring up before I go into the answer is there's a lot of information, a lot of self-help books.
Yes, that's what I was getting at.
But the problem is it's an overload of information and we never learn. There's a difference between, you know, for us listening to all the lectures that we see, you know, whichever Imam Barga we go to, and just listening to it and actually taking it home and reflecting on it. So if we're just going to go after book, oh, this was lovely, I felt good about it, this was really good, I felt good about it, and kind of have this whole pile of books, I'm reading these. What does that mean? You're just reading them. What have you done about it? Where's it? One book, one chapter, one page. One page is enough to start on. Make a change according to that. But we pick and choose. I don't want to deal with that right now, that's fine. it works. I'm going to try something else.
That's right.
No, I think the first thing that comes in your head is what you need to deal with. The first behavior that is shown up within your thought process, that's where you have to work at it. If you don't know how, get somebody to support you to work through it. Reflection is a big key. However, like I said, we're in a world where everything's instant
gratification.
We can't sit in a space for long enough. You know, when we're hungry, we look for food. We can't sit in that space. The caveman, when he was hungry, had to get up, had to go and find, and it could be hours, even a day before he got that food and brought it back, and he had to learn to share it, a level of patience as well. So there's a lot to think about there in terms of, can we really do it ourselves truly, or is this surface level work? You know?
That's right. I think the recognition starts from within. You have to firstly understand that you need some sort of help to make that change. And alhamdulillah, there's great resources out there, books that are incredible. But like you said, the smallest changes have the biggest impacts. And we recommend another book, Atomic Habits, which literally talks about the smallest changes that can have the biggest impact. A great book, something to reflect on, something that
it's on my shelf.
I would highly recommend.
Not read it.
Not read it.
Not read
I've
it
read
yet.
it 7 times. It's just.
Are you serious?
I'm serious. It's one of my favourite books. James Clear. It's a very good book.
Okay.
And it just breaks it down in a very understanding way through some stories and understanding that you can break down your habits and your habitual behaviour into good practices, understanding your threshold points, how you can break through those barriers. And then it goes on to things like habit stacking and things like that. So
it's quite applicable.
It's very applicable, very, very applicable. And like you said, there's an array of self-help books that are out there. And believe you me, they've probably gone through me, and I've read them and I put them back down again and didn't think anything of it. And some of them are quote-unquote best-selling books, and I can't quite understand why.
But sometimes we work on ourselves according to what the books tell us to work on.
But
where is the core issue is where we need to, and the only way you're going to do that is to ask people, and we're never going to do that.
We're never going to ask people, no.
You know, and this is why you have to have a good relationship with your partner, so you can ask them and not be defensive. So it goes right back to the beginning that we spoke about.
Totally. And then having the kind of drive to actually say, I've recognized this in myself. What am I going to do to address it? That's where people like yourself, who does great work to help and support people, looking at maybe the therapeutic process as well. Alhamdulillah, there's so many good people that work in well-being in our communities, in our Shia madhab. And if that's something, you know, dear viewers, that you thinking that you might want to, you can drop us an email. You can go online on Ahlulbayt TV's website, drop us an email, and we'll happily put you in touch with people from our Shia school of thought, from our mindset, that can help and support you through this journey, whether it be it therapist, counselling, life coaching, mentoring, or self-help. And we have one amazing person that's with us right now, alhamdulillah, who is helping people to grow. So I just think it's that investment that we need to do. You know, sometimes we spend hundreds of pounds on in the gym.
Big TV, a gym, gym membership.
Gym memberships that we never use. How many people have joined the gym for January and done this resolution thing, and it will probably just keep on paying for the whole year. But that investment in self, the inner body, understanding that the muscles you'll grow are only 20% of your energy, in your power, 80% comes from within. So
there's something actually that I'm not going to reveal names of who it was, but they had introduced something to me that was amazing that they do within their household. I'm sure if they're listening, they'll be laughing right now. So they will actually have a time where each family member will say what they appreciate about each family member.
Yes.
And then what they feel needs a bit more work.
Yes.
And I think that open relationship is just beautiful.
That's amazing. And look what you're teaching your children.
Yeah.
Look how you're exposing your children to say, it's okay to have that open conversation, that difficult conversation.
It is a difficult conversation. I mean, I would be scared to start this whole thing, you know, initially, whether I'm defensive or not, you know, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to hear. Especially when it comes from the children. Yeah,
definitely. A similar story. And again, it's a similar kind of process. I have a client within their families. They write it down on a piece of paper. what the issue is with that particular person. Everyone takes a day. So there's 4 people in the family. They put it in the jar. It's anonymous.
Oh, wow.
They use a computer, so you can't recognize the handwriting.
I like that.
And it's your day for that particular part of the week, that month, and you'll then face your issues. This is what I've got.
What, a whole jar full?
No,
in one go.
There's 4 in the family, so there'll be 3 in the jar. So
right.
each member of that family then say, all right, say it's my turn.
Yeah.
So son, daughter, wife, then all type out something, cut it up, put it into the jar. It's their night. They sit
Is it
around
sandwiched? Positive, negative, positive?
Well, it's very direct, actually.
Wow.
The sandwich comes from actually opening up the fact that we're going to be doing this.
Yeah.
And everybody accepts it. Now, when I speak to the children of this family, and they're young people, you know, they are young adults, and they are so switched on.
Wow.
They're so clued up. They're so open in conversation. They're very confident in the way that they're able to, you know, eloquently talk about their emotions, their feelings.
Excellent.
But their growth pattern about what they want to do, you know, Uncle Neil comes along and says, have you thought about your goals, where you want to get to in the future? This is what I want to do. This is how I'm going to do it. Da, 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 da. These are my role models. This is how I'm going to achieve it. And I'm like, wow.
Do you need me?
No, it's just phenomenal.
Wow,
it is phenomenal to kind of see. But that came as part of a process. You know, when I won't mention who it was, but one of the family members, one of the adults came to me and they had blockages, and one of the blockages was in the family, and this was just a suggestion. So
amazing.
It's anonymous, but it's open.
Yeah.
So these processes, again, it's another stage for our viewers to kind of look at self-development.
I might consider that. I like the idea.
There you go.
Yeah, and not about 3 in one go, though. I think everyone should get one at the same time.
You can adapt it to what suits you. But
Sounds like a great idea.
You just put a barrier up there and got very defensive
there
for Zana. We won't go there.
See, we're all flawed.
This kind of process is a good way to define your purpose and define who you are, because this is what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Who am I? These are the steps. Again, there must be other ways. I mean, there must be other ways to define your purpose as your identity, as a Shia, as a woman, a female in this world, as a male in this world, and all of the external pressures and everything that's bombarding us. You mentioned instant gratification, but you never mentioned social media, which is like...
That's another minefield in itself, isn't it?
It is, you know.
And how we present ourselves. Again, the masks that we wear, that we put on at the, you know, on our profiles, and, you know, are we innately who we are when we open up? That if we can say that we're the same person at home as we are on that, then fine.
Yes.
And that goes back to authenticity.
Brilliant. You see, there's a hadith, and I'm going to probably tear it apart, so forgive me, but it's something along the lines, don't judge a mu'min when you see them praying in the mosque. Judge them when you see them praying at home, how their actions are at home or how they are towards others. And I probably just ripped that whole...
Yeah, but the essence of it, I remember it,
Yeah, and it's a really powerful one. Again, reflecting on what we learn, reflecting on what we hear is really important.
There's so much to learn just from observation of behaviours of ourselves and others around us.
Yeah.
And that's not watching others around us for the sake of being critical. That's what we do all the time.
Yes, that's right.
It's about learning and appreciating others and seeing, do I have it within myself? Could I better myself? Not jealousy.
No,
So there's 2 areas.
That is.
You don't look at somebody to criticise, but that's what we end up doing most of the time.
Yes.
And you don't look at somebody to be jealous. Those are the 2 things you don't want to do. Just have that conversation with yourself that I can achieve that. Maybe I could, but not in a jealous way. And again, that goes to something that psychology are now adapting, your niyyah. The only way you're going to make growth or change in life is niyyah.
Yes.
And our religion is advocating that to us.
Of course, intention,
But
right?
psychologists now are saying that the way to make any change in your life is niyyah.
Wow.
So simple, that we've grown up with.
Exactly, we've had it in our lives all
But
the time.
are we using it the way we need to? That's the thing.
go.
Do we actually really make a niyyah is like a vow, like a commitment.
Yes, there
you know?
go.
You're giving your all in a niyyah. It's not just a superficial thing, you know?
No, 100%. I totally agree with you. You know, near intention could almost link to mindset. You know, they gel together really well, because once you make that intention, you change your mindset towards it, that becomes your focus.
I would say it's mind, body and soul. Oof. It's all that power in just the one intention that you've put together.
Wow.
Because you have to feel it.
Yes.
We don't feel it.
Yes.
Even when we're praying namaz and we're doing the intention,
yes,
we don't feel it. There's nothing from our heart that's connecting to the words that we're saying.
Yes.
We're just saying the words.
That's why it's important in those areas to ground yourself and to be present in the moment. You know, if you've gone somewhere, you've gone for Hajj, you've gone on ziyarah, you buy the fragrance that you smelled there on ziyarah. You know, we were on ziyarah recently.
I still remember your packet.
Sant. You know, we smell that fragrance, and it connects us to the Imam where we're there, feeling what it's like to hold that cold metal on the zari, what it was like under the floor, what you can smell, what you can taste, and bringing all those elements back, and then bang, reconnecting in that particular time and moment. So interesting stuff.
Taking me back.
It's crazy. That kind of leads me on to strategies, you know, because that's one strategy for grounding yourself and strategizing a plan. We started now, we recognize that we need to develop ourselves, we need to do something to become more self-aware and change our habitual behavior. You figured out, I'm going to read this self-help book, I'm going to go to Fazana Inspires Wellbeing online, just give you a bit of a plug, and I'm going to contact you and you're going to help me. What strategies can I then put into place to kind of keep on that growth mentality?
So don't expect that I'm fixing you. Ooh. I'm not going to fix you.
Another
I'll give you a toolbox.
Shall we go?
I'll give you a toolbox. Yes. I will give you all the tools in there.
Yes.
And I will show you how they're being used. I will watch you use those tools. I will go through the processes with you. You need to go home and practice and come and show me how that, whatever you've built, whatever you're working on, how it shows itself. I can't teach you anything directly because I don't know who you are and how you're going to take that. Does that make sense?
Totally.
If you need that amount of time to understand yourself, I can't understand you. Does that make sense?
Oh, 100%.
So that's what I'm saying. I cannot change your situation. I can't fix you. I can give you the tools to work at it yourself.
Yes.
A lot of the time, we want to make a change in life and we pay for a course and we think that's it. I've done it. That's
got a certificate, look.
It's not, that's not it.
Yes.
That's the start of the journey of what you've learned.
That's right.
Keep practicing, keep revisiting. So when we have the Who Am I course, I ask everyone to keep a notebook just for the Who Am I course, okay? And I will not give them notes because this is not a course with notes. This is a course where you take the notes. Because you're going to work on it. You make a promise to yourself that you're going to put the effort in.
Beautiful.
Your words, the grind, right?
The grind, yeah, exactly.
You're going to put the grind in and make that change.
Yeah.
And unless you do that, it's like reading those self-help books. You'll just be taking it all in. You walk out the door, it's gone. I felt good about it.
No digestion, is there?
Exactly. I felt good about it, but that was it.
That practice is amazing because you're then writing the notes in your writing, in your handwriting, you're committing, so your niyyah is on that page, your words are in that page. You know the therapeutic process called journaling, you know, again, that's exactly what you're doing in that thing. You own that. You own this book, it's yours, and that's where the continuation of growth
comes in. It's also quite sensory in that sense, right? So when you're engaging, rather than just one sense, if you're engaging a few that are combined to allow focus. That works.
Channeling the focus is really important in these stages of growth. In terms of, obviously, I totally agree, you know, the work that myself do, you can't get to know somebody in the hour that you're spending with them. No. You give them the tools, you give them the infrastructure, it's what they do between session or what they do between the course or whatever. And when they're gone, they're gone. And, you know,
we always worry about them.
I worry about them. I do. I worry. You know, I'm often thinking about my clients.
And check in again.
And how are you? And then all of a sudden, you don't hear from them for weeks upon end. And then you see them, and then sometimes amazing, immaculate results that you can see. But it's all about putting that effort in and continuation. So. And
neuroscience.
Oh, wow.
Let's go back to neuroscience.
Let's go neuroscience because this is your field.
So if there's repetition, I'm not going to go too technical because it's late. But when there's repetition, it will kick in. What we find is, if we think of it as a kind of a loop,
Yes.
okay? A loop of neurons in our mind, okay? In our brain. When we're repeating something, I don't know if you remember those sound systems where the lights go up
Yes,
and
I do.
down.
The
So as the
graphic
sound goes
equalizers.
up, they go up, the
Yep.
sound comes, okay. So like that, as you're putting input in, the light goes round, the electricity is going round, yeah, within the neurons. And you stop. The electricity is going round again because you're working hard at it again. And it keeps doing this. What's happening is that particular part of the loop is slowly picking up that information. So the next time you end up putting more effort in, the loop goes further round. The light is able to follow, or the electricity is able to follow further round, until it creates the full loop. But it's only repetition that will create the full loop, because it creates a memory within your mind, right? So the more you repeat, even if you think it's not sticking, and I know from the studies that, you know, when I'm studying, because of the dyslexia, it's not sticking, I don't remember it, I don't understand it. But subconsciously there is work happening as well. Even if we don't understand it, the patterns have already set.
Yes.
And eventually, after a bit of effort, and we stick with it, again, like with the reflection, sit in that space for a while, it will stick.
Yes, definitely.
It's called an action potential, and I love that word.
Action potential.
Yeah.
Is that something that the viewers can Google?
It's
another
neuroscience
tip?
you can do,
stuff?
yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
maybe simplified version. There we go. Dear viewers, we've got so many tips for you today. I hope people are making notes as well of this. This is free advice, alhamdulillah. So that wheel, that motion that we're doing, we want to kind of keep consistent with it.
Yeah.
We want to keep our wheel going. It takes momentum, it takes drive, and once that wheel is continuously going, that's when the habitual behavior comes into play. What if you press pause?
So as you were saying that, I'm thinking in my head exactly that, because if you, the old circuit of the behaviors and the life that you lived is still there.
Yes.
You're just focused on the new circuit, which is why the old circuit has become redundant. It will never clear from your brain. Unfortunately, that old circuit is still there.
Yes.
So when you stop putting in the effort and you just take your foot off, eventually you won't have to put in as much effort, but if you stop putting in the effort, and something happens in your life and it triggers you, it's not going to trigger you to the new.
No.
It's going to trigger you to the old.
That's right.
Because that's set in and it's grounded. So unfortunately, you will automatically jump to the old circuit and you will continue on those behaviors. And I'm not saying it in a negative way. Behaviors are a way of doing things and a way of being and a way that we manifest what we're thinking a lot of the time. We will go back to those old behaviors. So the old circuit will then light up.
So that's why.
And then again, it's a lot of effort to get the new circuit back in. Not as much, not from scratch, but it does take effort to channel back all of that into the new circuit.
To where you were, yes. In your opinion, we're into the last 5 minutes of the show and it's gone so quickly, but that circle that's continuously going, how long does it take for somebody to create that good habit and that good habit to kind of just flow continuously? So that circuit then is doing nicely, you then move on to another one and another one and another one until you've got this roll.
Exactly, you've got loads of different, because you grow, right? So, or you expand that circuit, you're still doing the same thing, you don't change. So if you're doing reflection every night before you go to bed and then you decide to do it in the morning, you're just adding, aren't you?
Yes,
you're increasing that potential.
So how long would you say? Some say 40 days to change, to create a habit. Some say 30 days, some say 15. In your experience, have you got...
Between 20 to 40.
Between 20 to 40.
And they're the two key numbers that we've been given anyway, between 20 to 40.
Again, Islamic numbers, Islamic principles. We know how important these numbers are in our faith. 40 days Moses went to the mountain. Prophet revealed his prophethood at the age of 40. We know that age of maturity mentioned in the Quran at 40. You know, these kind of habitual changes are really tying with our Islamic belief and our principles.
Definitely.
Alhamdulillah. Went to the last few minutes of the show, Sister Fazana. I'm sorry. I could speak to you for hours. As you know, we have amazing conversations. Just maybe your final points that you want to just tell the viewers. Maybe something small for them to start this journey of revealing themselves and that self-awareness to change and reflect on who they are.
Okay, so I would say that we need to really home in on reflection, particularly take a niyyah today. It's Imam Ali's birthday on Saturday.
Yep.
Come on, we've got a day.
Yes.
We've got a day to think about this and really sit and start reflecting. And actually on my Instagram page, I've started working with the Lantern of Light on reflection. So that's something people could follow as well to help them on their journey for reflection. But yeah, definitely take an oath of reflection today, inshallah.
Fantastic. And where can people find you, contact you, etc.? Because, you know, you're an amazing person, you're doing great work.
So I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram,
yes,
and Facebook.
Fazana Inspires Wellbeing.
Wellbeing.
Alhamdulillah. You offer a range of courses, sessions as well with people.
Yeah,
you do
and
one-to-one
it's all
work.
on there. Yeah, one-to-one work courses, definitely. It's
Brilliant.
all on the Instagram page.
Fantastic. Sister Fazana,
Thank you.
you've been amazing. Honestly, such a wealth of knowledge. Thank you for all the
Excellent
work on behalf of
conversation.
everyone watching, the whole community. Thank you for everything you do.
Thank you
Allah
for,
sees
for
everything.
inviting me today. That's very
Jazakallah khair.
nice.
Thank you so much. Dear viewers, it's been an amazing show with a range of topics, literally thinking about who am I? Who am I as a person? Reflecting on me, looking at the smallest things that you can do to make that change, but it all starts with you. That journey of 1,000 miles, yes, it starts with that single step, but viewers, you need to make that decision to make that step, to make that change. Take on board feedback and take on board feedback in the right positive way. Look at the way you're communicating with others. Look at the feedback that you're getting, which is helping you to grow. This will help you to be a better person, to understand you, create the best version of you. And once you understand you better, you'll understand your Lord and your Creator, inshallah ta'ala. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back next week, same time, 7:30 next Thursday. We'll see you then, inshallah ta'ala. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.